What's going on? A to Z Sports. Sam Phelan here with you live for Titans at 2 here on a fine Thursday afternoon. Going to be talking a little bit more about free agency. Earlier this week, I went over 3 potential cut candidates for the Titans, gave you some thoughts on who I think could be cut, who I think should not be cut. So you can go ahead and watch back on that one if you missed that one. And players that the Titans could get some salary cap relief from if they move away and cut them before free agency. Today, we're going to go on the flip side of things. We're going to look at players that are no longer under contract with the Titans, who I believe they need to make a priority to bring back in 2024. These are players that are currently unrestricted free agents that I think the Titans need to re-sign. So we will go over the 3 names that I've singled out here. But before we do that, a reminder that Titans at 2 is sponsored by my friends over at the Aura app, because anyone can find anything on the internet. That includes your full name, your personal email, home address, phone number, even relatives. Anything online is out there and able to be found. For example, data brokers who sell your information to robocallers, telemarketers, and spammers can have your data. There are over 30 data brokers with my information and data, and Aura helped remove my information from all of those lists. So I'm not bothered by those people I mentioned anymore. I don't get no caller IDs or robots on the other end of the phone. I'm also safe online with their VPN password manager and real-time credit and identity theft monitoring. So anything that it takes to be safe online in today's digital world is a big, big plus. They do the hard work of keeping you safe online. So sign up with Aura. Use the link aura.com/ATOZ to get a 2-week free trial. That's aura.com/ATOZ. The link to that is in the description of today's show. While you guys are filing in here, appreciate everybody hanging out. We are going to talk, again, 3 Tennessee Titans players from the 2023 season that I believe Ran Carthon, Chad Brinker, Brian Callahan, and this decision-making crew need to make a priority to bring back in 2024. Number 1 is the guy who had a career season and cemented his place in Titans history during the 2023 season. It's defensive lineman Denico Autry. Denico Autry, you see the numbers up there. 11 and a half sacks, 17 quarterback hits, 50 tackles, over the age of 30 in his 10th NFL season. Denico still having the best year of his NFL career last year with those 11 and a half sacks. It was the first time he had been over double digits. But I'll say this, Denico Autry had 8 or more sacks in all 3 years that he was with the Titans. He got I believe it was a 3-year, $21 million deal, something in that neighborhood. When the Titans signed him back in 21, 3 years to $21.5 million. Got 8 or more sacks in all 3 of those seasons. He is the second player in franchise history, in Tennessee Titans history, to have 8 or more sacks in 3 different seasons. It's Javon Curse, Denico Autry. That's the end of the list. Autry said he likes it here in Nashville, thought it was a good fit for him. That was something he told me and other members of the media at the end of the season as we were starting to preview free agency for him. And this one just kind of makes sense for both Autry and the Titans. I know defensive line doesn't necessarily pop up at the top of everybody's list of needs. But I think if you remove Denico Autry from the equation, all of a sudden defensive line, maybe it's not a weakness, but I also don't necessarily think it's a strength. And having a lot of talent up front with Autry, Harold Landry, Jeffrey Simmons, and Arden Key, I think is a really, really good sign for a Titans defense in 2024. Let's also talk about Denard Wilson because Denard Wilson, what we know about him so far and the identity that he wants for his defense is a defense that's going to bring a lot of pressure. He wants to go and pass rush. He wants to blitz frequently. He wants to trust his defensive line to go and get pressure on quarterbacks, and then hopefully establish a secondary that can play good enough man coverage to now create some turnovers and really limit an opposition's pass game. He was a defensive backs coach. Let's remember that. Like, defensive backs are his specialty. So if you're looking at external additions, I think you look more at defensive back. If you're looking at, hey, let's make the defensive line a strength, talent-wise, money-wise, let's pay defensive linemen so that they can go pressure those QBs, and then Denard Wilson can coach up the DBs to having a better year. I think that makes a lot of sense. I like this defensive line as a strength of this roster with Autry, Simmons, Key, Landry all together. But Teair Tart is gone. If you remove Denico Autry from that equation, I think you're kind of taking away from one of the biggest strengths of your team. And for the cost that it would what it would cost you, this is very much worthwhile for me. And as Steven says, Denico just feels like a no-brainer. A to Z Sports did a contract prediction for Denico Autry, which you will see up there. 1 year, $9 million is the projected salary. So this is not necessarily what I would do. I saw a comment as well that said from Danny saying, why not sign him for 2 years? And I would be very open to signing Denico Autry for 2 years. I count me in on that. But the free agent value, the market value, as predicted by A to Z Sports, is 1 year, $9 million. If that's what it's going to take to get Denico, with the amount of cap space the Titans have at $60+ million, maybe you make it a 2-year contract with maybe it's 2 years, $20 million, but the second year has less guarantees. This feels like a no-brainer addition for what he gives you. 11.5 sacks, best year of his career, was your sack leader, relentless motor, very good, like quiet leader. He's not the most outspoken, but he's a solid lead by example type of guy, very well accepted in the room. Jeffrey Simmons and Arden Key and him all have like fantastic chemistry with one another. So as Karen says, pay the man. As Kenneth says, 2 years, $14 million feels good. But that is number one for me. Ran Carthon, signed Denico Autry. That needs to be a priority this offseason for sure. Number two is actually kind of similar because I believe this is the most under-discussed need for the Titans this offseason. The one thing that this roster really, really lacks that for whatever reason isn't really talked about as much as something that needs to be addressed. And it's linebacker to me, and it's Azeez Al-Shaair. And inside linebacker, Kenneth was on it. Inside linebacker, absolutely a need that you don't really hear people talk about. We hear, hey, they need offensive line. Hey, they need cornerbacks. Hey, they need safeties as well. They need wide receivers. You don't have anybody saying they need inside linebackers. And yet I look at what the Titans had at the end of the 2023 season. Jack Gibbons was placed on IR. Monty Rice was cut by the team. Chance Campbell was on IR. You had a banged up Luke Gifford, who, as we went over in our cut candidate Titans at 2 earlier this week, could be somebody that gets cut by this team. But even if Luke Gifford is not cut, Luke Gifford is a special teams player. He played 8 defensive snaps. Who was the Titans' inside linebackers other than Azeez at the end of the year? George Wallow, I believe was his name, or Grant Wallow, something like that. I can't even remember the guy's name, and I was paid to talk to him and know his name. And JoJo Doman. Those were the guys. Joe Jones coming in off of the special teams unit to have a significant role on the defense at times. There's nothing there. You have not gotten Chance Campbell healthy enough to feel good about him and his development. I think Jack Gibbons is a fine third inside linebacker. I think if he's one of your top 2 options going into the season, you're probably a little thin I don't necessarily think he can cover or is fast enough to run with receivers, tight ends, running backs, which is a problem. And I look at AL-Shaair, and I mean, the numbers kind of speak for themselves here. 163 tackles, which, by the way, is a Titans franchise record. Yes, it's a Titans franchise record, 163 tackles. He had 6 quarterback hits, 2 sacks, and then you see the contract projection from Pro Football Focus down there. 3 years for a total of just over $20 million and 11 and a half of it guaranteed. This is a guy that, again, was kind of blocked in San Francisco, didn't have the opportunities to be a starting caliber linebacker, play 1,000+ snaps, and put up numbers like that because they had Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner, and he filled in for injuries and filled in well, but was kind of blocked a little bit. He gets a 1-year deal from the Titans because Ran Carthon knew going in to last season. Remember, Ran Carthon comes from the 49ers. Ran Carthon knew just how good Azeez could be, especially in this defense. He pays him $5 million for 1 year. He sets a franchise record in tackles, and you have absolutely no depth at the position. This one, again, feels like a no-brainer to me if you can make this happen. I think 3 years, $20 million is more than fair for Azeez. I think the leadership quality that he brought to this defense should not be something that is slept on either. He was a defensive captain on this team. As a new guy walking into this team, was named a captain, a defense that had a lot of returning players like Harold Landry and Danico Autry and Jeffrey Simmons. Jeff was also one of the captains, Kevin Byard, right? And AL-Shaair stood out enough to his teammates to be trusted as a captain. That was something that he also voiced at the end of the year. Does he want to come back? Quote, I definitely want to be back here. Anytime anybody has ever asked me that, I would love to be back here. I feel like I fit in very well. These guys accepted me and allowed me to be a leader on this team. So this one makes sense. Here's my concern with AL-Shaair as a potential returner and a potential player to bring back, and Kenneth is already on it. Dre Greenlaw's hurt. Dre Greenlaw tore his Achilles in the Super Bowl. That could be an injury that impacts the 49ers into next season. They could be looking for a Dre Greenlaw replacement. In fact, I would say they probably are looking for a Dre Greenlaw replacement. And AL-Shaair fits their needs very well. He knows that defense. He knows those players. He likes those players so much that during their playoff run, Azeez went back to San Francisco to participate in pregame warmups with the Niners on the field. The linebackers for the San Francisco 49ers did their little pregame huddle, their little pregame pep talk, and Azeez, Tennessee Titan, was back in San Francisco participating in that little powwow before a game during the playoffs. So I do think a reunion with the 49ers is something that he would entertain. And why wouldn't you if you have the opportunity to potentially go win a Super Bowl or at least play in a Super Bowl or guaranteed probably make the playoffs and be on a winning team versus the Titans, where sure, you might feel like you fit in, you might feel like you're a leader, you might have more opportunity to play, but I don't think the expectation is going to be Super Bowl or bust here in Tennessee. If he's signing a long-term deal, I think that's even more of a factor. Do you want to be a Tennessee Titan for a total of 4 years if he does get a 3-year contract where you might have an opportunity to go play elsewhere and go win a Super Bowl? Now, the spin zone of that is if Dre Greenlaw misses part of 2024, right, that's good for Azeez because Azeez can play there, but Azeez might not be able to start in San Francisco on a 3-year contract because of Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw still existing there. And so is there somewhat of a deterrent of like, yeah, I could start for the first 12 weeks until Dre comes back, and then I might have to go back into that third linebacker role. How much of a trade-off is there for Azeez? where being the guy in Tennessee is a benefit to him. It's very interesting. Danny thinks it's scary. Amar thinks he's technically not a Titan anymore. You know what I mean, though. How rare is it that an active player who did not play for that team in a season, played for a different NFL franchise, outside of like Jason Kelsey supporting his brother, is back at one organization's playoff game on the field for pregame warmups? Do they have the money is what Kenneth wants to know. I'm not actually sure. I can check that right now as we look. The 49ers are currently negative in salary cap space. They do have negative $12 million. They would need to get creative to potentially free some money. But if I go on their account right now and see how they could potentially clear cap space, they could cut Dre Greenlaw and get cap space. Colton McKivitz would clear $3 million for them. They could also potentially make a trade of, say, Brandon Ayuk and other players. So we'll see if the 49ers free up the money. I guess right now they don't. So that is one feather in the Titans cap. Anthony says it's sad. Do you want to be a Titan for 4 years? If players are asking that question, your organization has issues. And yes, and I do think Azeez wants to be a Titan. Like he said, he believes he fits in well. He likes it here. And that seemed to be what most players said on their way out the door at locker room cleanout day. I more say this, Anthony, if you're an NFL player at this stage in your career that Azeez is in, where you've been in the league for 5 years now, do you want to commit to a team that may, like if you're looking and it's two teams that are even, both are going to give you playing time, both are going to give you similar looking contracts, and one of them is going to be contending for a Super Bowl every single year in the San Francisco 49ers, I think you give them preferential treatment to the Titans. Not saying that the Titans are a specifically poor organization that players don't want to play for, but there is a reality of sports where free agents that have opportunities to win championships and contend for championships would rather do that. And so he knows San Francisco, he knows the players, he knows the coaches. Technically he doesn't know the coaches because they just switched their defensive coordinator, but he knows Kyle Shanahan and kind of how they do things. And he knows John Lynch and their front office. And so if he were to sit there and say, where's a place that's comfortable that I can also go for the next 3 years and win a Super Bowl, he might prefer San Francisco to Tennessee. I'm going to go ahead and get into my last one, and we're going to play a video. And I think this video is really going to speak to why I believe they should bring back the player I'm going to talk about. The video is going to speak for itself. Before I tell you guys about NFL flag football leagues, I need you guys to leave a like on the show. I don't ask you guys to leave a like on the show very often. I usually ask you just at the end. But if you could hit the thumbs up button here right now, it would help me out a ton. So please do that while I tell you about NFL flag football leagues and Titans youth NFL flag football leagues, which are in and around the Nashville area with a once-a-week program on Sundays for a total of 2 hours. The season starts in March. It goes through May. There is a link in the description of this video. It's for boys and girls pre-K through 5th grade. I'll also just note they're coming out with an adult league as well. I saw some about that today. So maybe you want to go and play flag football and relive the glory days a little bit. Well, check out NFL flag football leagues in and around Nashville starting in March and go register. Use the link in the show description for that NFL flag football. And I am going to tell you about why the Titans should bring back Sean Murphy-Bunting. It is not the king, Derrick Henry, as Kendrell was hoping. It's Sean Murphy-Bunting for me. We know corner is a problem for this team. We know that they need to add to the secondary, not just one, maybe not just two, maybe up to 3 players that are going to be impact players they need to add to the secondary between safety and cornerback. You have one real experienced cornerback in Roger McCreary on your roster. You have one real experienced safety in Amani Hooker on your roster. And then you have Elijah Molden, who we talked about on our cut candidates show, who is somewhere in between cornerback and safety and is somewhere in between experienced and inexperienced if he can stay healthy. But you only have Elijah Molden for one more year. And so you've got two corners that are unrestricted free agents right now. One of them is Christian Fulton. One of them is Sean Murphy-Bunting. I think the writing is already on the wall where Christian Fulton will be elsewhere. He needs a change of scenery. He wants a change of scenery. I don't think he has any interest in coming back, and the Titans, frankly, shouldn't have interest in him. He's not the type of guy that I think they need to add to their room and add to their defense. Sean Murphy-Bunting is the persona that he carries, him, like how he carries himself, how he speaks, the leadership he has within that defense in that room. I think he's really, really important. And so as far as getting a second, third cornerback option, I like SMB and I want him back on this team next year. Here is 4 minutes of a scrum that I participated in. I get a couple questions in during it with SMB on Locker Room Cleanout Day. And just listen to the way he talks about the Tennessee Titans and how much he wants to be a Tennessee Titan. I think it will make Titans fans want SMB back as well.
Honestly, for me, last year, it was pretty tough. I think it was more trying to control the uncontrollables. And I think for me now is really just understanding that everything that happens for a reason, no matter if it's what you wanted or if it's completely different than what you wanted. So just understanding that and really just living and just being able to just be myself. So
I know it kind of goes without saying that this year wasn't what anyone wanted, finishing 6-11 and not getting to the playoffs season. But how would you categorize or characterize kind of how this season went for you guys?
I think it. Obviously, we had our ups and downs, right? Games where we played really, really well, and it showed. And then there was games where we didn't play as well, and it showed. But I would honestly just categorize it as just being resilient, man. I think all year guys were resilient. Guys showed up to work. Win, lose, or draw, they made it fun. And that's just the coaches, that's the players, that's everybody in the building. And that's really just a test of just how, this program is. And I think, when you're in an environment and you're not winning, it can be toxic. It can be long days, frustrating hours of just constant losing, and I just didn't feel that here. Even when we were losing, I still felt like guys are locked in and guys had something to work for, and I still feel like that now. So.
I'm sure that's a product of the culture too that's been created here. And I want to ask you this: I know how we watch it, and how the fans watch it. I'm curious to see or to know how you guys, as players, and even a veteran player, pays attention to kind of the off-season moves and the personnel. Like today, two NFL coaches have already been fired, and they're looking for new places. Like, how do you guys pay attention to what changes may or may not happen?
If you want me to be honest, I don't, because I know I can't control anything. So obviously I see things and I see, this coach is just fired, or this coach is talking to this team and stuff like that. But I just don't really put too much thought into that until it's time to put the thought into that, because I don't know what's going to happen, and I don't want to act like I do know what's going to happen. So I try to leave that up to the man upstairs and honestly just go about my days cool, calm, and collected.
Appreciate it.
How tough are these days, just when you're in here, maybe saying goodbye to guys for the last time, and no matter what, win or lose during a season, you accomplish things. Yeah,
it's definitely tough because these are the last time you're gonna see guys, and it's my guy right here. Me and him grew a close bond, once he got here. So. It sucks. Obviously, we want to be in the playoffs and we want to continue playing with each other as long as we can. But that's not the reality of what it is today. So, after the game was a little tougher for me as far as just, interacting with people, because I was a little more, more sad. I don't want to say a word, but it was more sad in the locker room. But I guess now it's a little more joyful because guys are in here, guys are smiling. This is the last time we're going to see each other in this locker room, but I can still have a chance to see them in the offseason and things like that.
Yeah, don't want to, if it's too personal. But I saw you yesterday taking a moment at your locker, still in uniform. Is that kind of that emotion that you're talking about, of reflecting on the year here and the uncertainty of what's to come?
Yeah, and like I said yesterday, it's just, when you get into an environment where you feel so welcome and you feel so valued and appreciated, you don't want to lose, you don't want to lose that. But again, you don't know. That's the uncertainty about it. You know what's going to happen. You don't have control of what's going to happen. You can only just have a smile on your face. Thank them for the moments and appreciate the opportunity of just having me and bringing me here and allowing me to showcase what I had to this team and to the world.
So if you were going to say, hey, Titans, bring me back, or hey, this is a team, this is why you should sign me, what do you feel like, you've put on tape this year and how you've grown as a player?
I think, I just show up to work every day the same. I try to be a leader in the ways that I can lead. I try to be a mentor for the young guys that need it, or just a friend or a brother to lean on. And I think for me, it's just always been about just being myself, right? Not trying to show up and be something that I'm not. We're not trying to try to act like I'm somebody that I'm not. I just try to continue to just go about my days just feeling blessed and showing the gratitude for everything that I've accomplished and everything that I have so far. And I'm not going to stop. I'm always going to have a smile on my face, and I'm always going to be a guy that people can lean on. But, I've enjoyed my year, to say the least.
Legitimately one of my favorite interviews I have ever been a part of as a media member. Legitimately one of the most genuine people that I have had the chance to cover. And that is what Sean Murphy-Bunting is about. Like he says, he is himself. He is somebody that guys can lean on. He is a leader for the younger guys that need it. He is consistent in his demeanor and his approach and in his work. And is he a bona fide number one corner? No, but I do think he is a really, really valuable, really down to earth, as Juan says, type of guy. And personally, I want him back on this team. I want him back with Denard Wilson. Denard Wilson coaching him up, fitting right back into this defense like a glove. I want to see what he's made of here. So he can be a solid number two, even a number three to me. Like, that is what he can be for this team. Rooney said all that was with Vrabel, but I really feel like so much of what SMB talked about there is not Vrabel as much as, like, there was a lot there. Vrabel, a testament to the coaching staff, a testament to the organization, but it was also the vibe and the relationship he had with the other players. And that's Terrell Edmonds, as you saw in the interview. That's Roger McCreary. That is Amani Hooker. That is Jeffrey Simmons and other members of this defense. So I think he's somebody who maybe Titans fans aren't thinking about, but I really think needs to be back. Danny says he would love to have SMB back if we're looking for a top-tier free agent corner for the other side, which allows McCreary to play his natural slot corner position. This is sort of my ideal scenario, and Kenneth lists a couple guys that would be nice gets as well. So my ideal offseason for the Titans secondary is not L'Jarius Sneed. I have some worries about the knee injury with L'Jarius Sneed. It's Chidobe Awuzie at corner, former Cincinnati Bengal. Brian Callahan knows him well. Give me Awuzie on one side. Give me Sean Murphy-Bunting back with the team on one side. Give me Roger McCreary in the slot. Give me a cornerback drafted in the 4th to 5th round. And that is like your 4th corner with Eric Garror. And those guys are now your depth guys that have impacts on special teams but can rotate in. I don't think the Titans should necessarily draft a corner in the 1st round or 2nd round of the NFL draft. I think those are offensive rounds, offensive picks. I think you need an offensive tackle and you need a wide receiver in rounds 1 and 2, and you don't have a 3rd round pick. So rather than relying on your big, like, off-season addition at corner being either a guy you pay top dollar money to or a rookie that you're probably going to end up taking in the 4th round, bring back Sean Murphy-Bunting. Notice the 3 guys I have the Titans bringing back: defense, 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 because I think you're going offensive line, wide receiver, or offensive line, or tight end, offensive line, some combination of offense on at the top of the draft. And if you're going to do that, you need to make sure that you supplement your defense in free agency, and specifically with guys that you know are good culture fits. Sean Murphy-Bunting, Danico Autry, Aziz Al-Shaair, great culture fits that are also very good football players, and I would like to see be a part of this team moving forward. That's all I got for you guys today. I think this was really awesome. I love talking about this kind of stuff. I feel really strongly about these three guys. And I want to see some continuity, as Danny says. These are three guys I feel very strongly about. So some exciting news to share before we head out of here. And that will be that next week, you will get a Titans at 2 from the NFL Combine in Indianapolis. I will be heading up to Indianapolis with a credential around my neck, getting ready to cover the draft class that I just talked about. So Titans fans want to see some Malik Neighbors. They want to see some Joe Alt. They want to see Roma Dunze and Olu Fashanu and Brock Bowers. Well, I'm going to get to talk to all of those guys about where they are, how they're talking to the Titans, how their meetings with the Titans have gone, where they see themselves playing, and really dive into the fit for the Titans for all of those draft picks, where they might go at number 7 overall. I will also get to interview Brian Callahan. I will get to interview Ran Carthon, talk about the offseason, talk about some of these re-signings, talk about this draft class. It's going to be a loaded week. Kenneth says what days? I will be there Monday through Saturday. I will be there all week. So I'm thinking, because Monday's a travel day, Monday's Titans at 2 could potentially be pre-recorded. Keep an eye on that, and I might do a combine preview, but there will be at least one show, probably Thursday, that will be from Indianapolis, recapping some of the stuff that I've learned about the Titans from my time in Indy from the Combine. I will be on the A to Z Sports morning show tomorrow alongside Austin Stanley, so you guys can catch me there as well. And I appreciate you guys tuning in as always. Till next time, tighten up. We will see you later.